Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. You see, if you're an African, if you're an African listening to me, you are the most endangered species on this planet Earth. I want to let you know that. Let it be at the back of your mind every moment of your days. And if you think I am just blabbing, then you are dreaming, because some of us have also seen this thing very, very clearly. Even if you are living abroad in the midst of Westerners and they smile at you and laugh with you, don't think that they smile and laugh with you because they so much love you. Okay? Um, you see, we can't use a blanket judgment on all of them anyway, because there are some good ones among them. All right? But I would like to let you know clearly that the way their ordinary citizens reason is not exactly the way their politicians reason. An ordinary Westerner, maybe a European or American, may be very nice. Some of them are really very nice, to be honest with you, but they reason differently from the way their politicians reason. And the problem is actually the way their politicians reason. And once their politicians take a decision that is against you, the ordinary citizen is helpless. He cannot do anything otherwise. All right? So that is where the problem comes. Now, first of all, remember that Africans were in their space there in Africa without inviting anybody. And these people, swooped into the African communities and began to kidnap them and began to abduct them and sell. And they called it slave trade. That one lasted for thereabouts 400 years, 4 good centuries, selling people for cheap labor. That was a height of wickedness. Or would you call that friendliness? That is how they reason. That is how they look at you. They look at you as a worthless individual that they should be using to do whatever they want, however they want it. They still look at you like that till today. Don't think it has stopped just because the slave trade ended some time ago. No. When they claim to have ended the slave trade, people didn't know that it is because they have devised another means of controlling you. So they came up with what they baptized as colonialism. Colonialism was the other side of the coin of slave trade. Are you getting it? They were still controlling every human being in that place called colony. They were still unaliving people at will and nothing was happening. It continued until African societies began to wake up. The forefathers of Africans began to rise to their responsibilities to demand freedom. And they never knew that these people devised another means. They said, okay, now we can give you your freedom. And they started giving African countries their freedom, what they called independence. But these things are just mere flag independence, because no African country is free till today. Or they may just be one or two that are not directly or seriously under the influence of their former colonial masters. But a country like Nigeria is still completely ruled by Britain and right now America as well. So what they do this time around is what is called neo-colonialism. This time around, they are no longer the ones in your government, but they sit down in their countries and decide who becomes the president of your country. All right? And they always put the worst of you in the position of authority to rule you. The reason is that they want to have a very bad record of the person in their record with them, okay? And every now and then they flash it to him and say, hey, you see, we have your bad record, so you must do our bidding. Otherwise, we will flash this to the public and use it to destroy you. That is why Tinubu today cannot do any tangible thing in Nigeria, anything good for the Nigerian citizens. He cannot, and he will not. So whoever is sitting down there expecting Tinubu to do anything better tomorrow is just dreaming. You are daydreaming like a malaria patient. All right. And even anybody who comes after Tinubu tomorrow is also going to have the same problem, because they are not going to allow a clean person to enter that position. They will always put a very corrupt person and use his corruption record to threaten him to do their bidding all the time. That's why every now and then you will hear FBI of the United States say, we're going to release Tinubu's record. We're going to release Tinubu's record. Know that anytime they shout that, know that there is something they want Tinubu to do. And so they start shouting. After shouting, Tinubu will go and begin to beg, please, what do we do? How do we settle it? And they say, look, go and do this for us. It's always in their own interest, not in the interest of the citizens of Nigeria at all. Are you getting the point? Because otherwise, why have they not released this record ever since they started threatening? Tinubu is now 2 years in the office. At least to the best of my knowledge, FBI of the United States has threatened 3 times to release Tinubu's record, but they never did till today. Are you getting it? So you as an African, you are an endangered species, and you have to begin to use your head, begin to use your brain, begin to use your senses, to help yourself wherever you find yourself. For those of us in Nigeria, I would like to encourage you, from today on, stop dreaming that Nigeria will be good. Begin now to ask for the disintegration of that enterprise. It's an evil enterprise of Britain. Why would anybody who wants to contest for the presidency of Nigeria go to Chatham House in London to campaign? I mean, it doesn't make sense. How many UK politicians come to Nigeria to campaign? That is arrant nonsense. That is to show you that Nigeria is not designed to function properly. Okay? So, recently, some individuals have started speaking, some for and others against Africans. So, I'm going to show us the view of different persons, and then that will open your brain to know how these people look at you and how you should carry yourself and what you should demand. There is nothing like better Nigeria. It will never work, because these people will never allow it to work. It is only when you have your full, real independence as an indigenous person. In Europe, every tribe constitutes itself into a country. That's why some European countries are just about 2-point-something million in population, and they function as a country. If you hear their name, you think they are so large. They are just like one state in Nigeria, yet they function. But in Nigeria, they come and contracted different ethnic nationalities whom they know don't have anything in common and force them to exist as a country. And you expect such a system to function properly? That's why Fulani will never allow you have rest, because their reasoning is backward. All right, and we cannot function with the same people. We cannot move along with them. It's not possible. They reason backwardly. They reason in a barbaric manner. Okay, so let's proceed. Look at this woman. She is the Prime Minister of Italy. Okay, her name is Giorgia Meloni. She literally, finished France here in her presentation, exposing how France has been exploiting African countries. France is one of those wicked colonial masters that colonize many African countries, and they still decide who becomes the president in those colonial countries and in those colonies. Okay, and that's what we're talking about. So hear her out.
90% of Nigerians live without electricity.
90% of Nigerians live without electricity. This is the person speaking for Nigerians. And what are Nigerian politicians doing? Nothing. Only stealing money at the end of every month.
We don't accept lessons. Is that clear? France continues to exploit Africa.
France continues to exploit Africa. Like I told you, they say that they gave Africa independence. There is no independence there. They still control Africa. And you will hear how they control Africa. Listen up.
By printing currency for 14
By printing currency for 14 African nations. Now, can you just imagine that a country is given independence, yet the country cannot print their own currency? Their currency is still being printed by France, 14 countries for that matter. Is that a joke? How can such 14 countries function properly? There will always be hardship, corruption, malfunctioning of the system, because the system cannot even print its own currency. So whatever France decides happens there economically is what happens.
African nations on which it imposes seigniorage.
On which it imposes seigniorage. Now, what is seigniorage? Look at it. A profit made by a government by issuing currency, especially the difference between face value of coins and their production cost. Second, a thing claimed by a sovereign or feudal superior as a prerogative. So this is the one, this second one is what France is doing. They exploit these their colonies up to today. So those countries still pay France in a way. Okay? And they say you're an independent country.
Making children work in mines.
Making children work in mines. Like if you go to Congo, okay, Democratic Republic of Congo, the children work in gold mines there. They work, extract the gold, and France will just carry almost free of charge. And they don't pity these people. These are wicked demons in human clothing.
Extracting raw materials, as happens in Niger, where France extracts 30% of the uranium it needs to run its nuclear power plants, while 90%.
Okay, so it happens in Niger, it happens in DR Congo. That is how these people treat you. They don't value you as a human being. Now, let's go ahead to see how actually their politicians view you as an African. Listen up.
That we Europeans in the North need to prepare for a possible African rise in terms of technology, and therefore that we
This
Europeans
is low, but
in the North need to prepare for a
just listen up, okay?
that we Europeans in the North need to prepare for a possible potential African rise in terms of technology, and therefore also in terms of military capacity.
Are you getting it? So that there is a potential African rise in technology and military capacity. So this man you see here, this white man you see here, is calling on other European and American and developed countries to rise up against Africa because Africa is preparing to get up. So they actually don't want Africa to develop. They actually don't want Africa to enjoy good life. So the fact that Africans are trying to come up technologically is a threat to them. And they are saying they should gather together and rise against Africa. What is their problem? That's what I don't know. So this is how endangered you are. When I said Africans are endangered, the most endangered species on the planet Earth, I wasn't trying to insult anybody. I was just trying to be honest to you because with this kind of mindset that they should prepare against Africa because Africa is beginning to develop. That is a wicked mindset. They don't want you to develop at all. They want you to remain underdeveloped. Listen.
And that means we in Europe need to already start looking ahead and thinking ahead about how we are going to win the war against Africa.
About how we're going to do what? To go into war against Africa. So this man you see here is calling for war against Africa. Look at his face. And what is your problem? Nothing. Africa has not done anything against you, just that they are trying to. to rise, to do the right thing. This man is calling for war against Africa. And he's calling his fellow Europeans and the US, whatever developed country it is, they should come together and wage a war against Africa. You see the wickedness.
Because there will be a future war between Europe and Africa.
Because there will be a future war between Europe and Africa. That's what this man is saying. Look at his face very well. He is the one saying it.
Some of you especially, and sadly some of the youth of Africa, you think some of us using the media advocating for the freedom and unity of Africa, we don't have anything to do with our life.
Okay, so now just look at it. Reason along and ask yourself, what exactly is the crime of Africans? You know, you go abroad, they level all manner of allegations against you and use that to make your life a miserable thing, some people, some of us have tried to study this thing and we see it is just natural hatred against Africans. Because if you go to these developed countries, okay, take for instance a country like UK, if you go to London, most of the crimes committed there are not committed by Africans. They are not committed by Africans. To be honest, most of those crimes are committed by Arabic Muslims. They are the ones creating crisis, mostly in the UK. And if you are very conversant with the social media, you would have been seeing pictures and videos, on real-time basis where they commit these crimes. And it's not deniable. But why do they focus their attention on Africans? It is just natural hatred. So the earlier we begin to organize ourselves and call for a unity of Africans. I have made a video on what we ought to do as Africans. All right. And this issue of forcing yourself to remain in a country that is not functional, it doesn't solve any problem. If your country is not functional like Nigeria, then it needs to be disintegrated. Everybody go your separate way so you can function properly. You can't continue to maintain an establishment, established by a European country, and you say we must die in this country, we must remain Nigerians, we must continue to force ourselves to function, to work together. When the Fulani herdsmen are just interested in overrunning your community, we can't function together with such people. They have to go their separate way. We go our separate way and function as independent countries. We can be good neighbors. If we allow you to enter our space, you do. If we don't, you remain where you are. But to be honest with you, it is also these developed countries that raise people like Fulani herdsmen, Boko Haram, and the rest of them to terrorize other peaceful indigenous people. We saw it in the report of one senator in the United States, where he made it point blank that United States, USAID, is responsible for funding most of these terrorist organizations like Boko Haram. He mentioned Boko Haram, which operates prominently in Nigeria. Otherwise, how do those people get the money and get the weapons they use to terrorize everybody in Nigeria? So they terrorize you, and the more you continue to say that we want to remain one Nigeria with these terrorists, the more you don't love your life. Are you getting it? So some of the measures we have to take is to separate ourselves into smaller countries that are more homogeneous, people with the same ideology. Let Igbos go and form their Biafra. Okay? I am speaking for that because I am from that region. Okay? So let's separate and let everybody go their separate ways instead of forcing ourselves to see if we can continue to exist. Nigeria has existed for more than 60 years, at least since after independence. It has never fared anywhere. It's getting rather worse. That's to show you that even in the future, it will never get better. Because if it will get better, it would have gotten better at least once. Ever since we were born, we have been hearing that Nigeria will be better. Next year will be better than this year. But by then, next year, it will be worse. So we have to try the other option of separating. This our sister made very valid, gave very valid advice here. Let's listen to her.
Hello everyone, this message is for my African and the black race around the world. Here goes. To my people of Congo, Africa, and the black race around the world, a transformative awakening is unfolding. In parts of Africa and across black nations, we are rising. And
So she's encouraging the transformation that is unfolding. The most prominent we see today is what is happening in Burkina Faso, where I saw a video where Burkina Faso indigenes are helping to build physical construction. Everybody carrying what do they call it? These interlocking blocks. Everybody is joining hand to work, and they are working voluntarily. Okay, this is what these Westerners don't want to see. They don't want us to build our society. But this woman is telling us here, everybody should unite and help to build Africa. Listen.
with time and unity, we will see this awakening spread across the entire continent and beyond. One path to this awakening is through education,
Through education, not the type of thing they brought to us. This one is real education where people are taught on how to use their brain and do critical reasoning. That's what we do on this channel. Do critical thinking. Don't just accept any garbage they garbage into your brain. Okay, you do crime work in the exam, you pour whatever you have crammed and you think you know anything.
through truth, through sharing the right information.
Share the right information, okay, and stop believing all these Western media, CNN, BBC, liars, big time liars. Stop believing them.
For too long, we have been dormant, divided. We have followed the European narrative and even some of our own to dictate our lives. They have conspired to keep us blind, to keep us brainwashed, to keep us miseducated, poor, divided, and at war with each other. But today, we are witnessing something powerful. An African
So you see what you heard what she said. They have done a lot of things, including brainwashing, media control, everything to keep us blind. And today, you have to open your brain, open your eyes, open your senses, and begin to use your senses.
leader is standing up, challenging the corrupt, defying systems built to serve the few and undermine many. I recently read The Slave Ship by Marcus Rediker. It chronicles the theft, the torture, the kidnapping, the killings, the rape, the violence, the enslavement of millions of Africans over 4 centuries.
You heard it. So the evil these people did on Africans in the name of slave trade, that is evil. And we have to come out of it. We have to learn how to, write our stories, shape our own narrative, and believe whatever we want to believe, not to believe what they tell us. It is very, very terrible to believe everything these people tell you.
12 million Africans were brought to the New World. Some sources say closer to 30 million. 5 million died during the Middle Passage.
Okay, so some people lost their lives along the way when they were being taken captive as slaves. Some, several evil happened.
By the time slavery was abolished, 3.3 million were still working on plantations.
3.3 million Africans were still working on plantations, developed their agricultural system, but today they look at you and level all manner of allegation against you just to blackmail you.
For Americans, British, Danish, Dutch, French, Portuguese, and Spanish enslavers. By 1800, the slave-based economy had generated the equivalent of $3.3 billion in 2007 value.
Good. So we built this people's economy for them, and today they look at you and call you a monkey.
And yet, they called us lazy, unfit to govern ourselves. When they could no longer steal our people, they turned to our land. They gathered in what became known as the Scramble for Africa. They divided our continent. They dominated 90% of it, often with brutal violence.
With brutal violence. Okay, because they had superior weapons, so they used force to impose their government upon us. And it wasn't evil. Today, if you want to go to any of these countries, they scrutinize you and place you on visa that will frustrate you to go back. But when they come to our space, they don't go through such scrutiny. When they came to Africa, did they come with a visa? Who gave them visa? They just swooped into our community and began to dominate over everybody they see. That is evil.
Belgium colonized Congo, 10 million Congolese perished. And later, Congo endured what is called Africa's World War, an estimated 5 million lives lost. All of it for our natural resources.
Okay? They want to claim your natural resources and they first of all create crisis, terrorize you so that when they begin to take your resources, you won't talk. That was what they did in Congo. And not only Congo, they also did it in Nigeria and several other African countries. And they are still doing it till today.
Diamonds, sugar, salt, gold, iron, cobalt, uranium, copper, bauxite, silver, petroleum, natural gas, and cocoa beans. Resources that power the industries and technologies of today. Even after colonialism, they found new ways to loot. They pitted African nations against each other.
Are you getting it? They didn't end with colonialism. They came with neo-colonialism, whereby they sit down there and raise people and equip them, finance them to cause crisis in the continent and in their countries. And as the crises are going on, they are looting.
Just as they once pitted African chiefs against each other in exchange for human cargo. They gave them guns, they gave them lies. The president of France recently said, talking about Macron, if we leave African countries to manage on their own, now is not the time. Africa.
Did you hear that? If we leave African countries to manage their countries on their own, now is not the time. You know, they want to continue to control you and they say, hey, we want to help Africa. They are not helping anything. They just saw that they were losing grip of where they were getting their resources. And so they are saying, hey, let's continue to help Africa. Ever since they started claiming to help Africa, how many decades or centuries ago, how much help that have they rendered that it is now that they will render the best help? That is the deceit of these people, and we should stop believing them. We can govern ourselves. They should go back to their countries and leave us alone, leave our resources alone, leave us to govern ourselves.
Remains the least developed continent, and history shows we have a role to play in supporting its growth. A complete withdrawal could halt progress. There is still much work for us to do in Africa, and we believe they are not fully ready to thrive without our involvement.
Can you imagine the insult that we cannot thrive without their involvement? That is arrant nonsense. Macron should go and face his country and leave Africa alone. He is one of those wicked individuals that are neo-colonizing Africa. We don't want his help.
Let that sink in. Dear Africans, dear Black people, we must not forget the past. The growth they speak of is unilateral. These remarks are why we must be vigilant. We must be united now more than ever. The truth is setting us free. And at the forefront of this new revolution is Captain Ibrahim Traore. As he forges a new path of revolutionary leadership, let us remain vigilant.
Yes, I support Ibrahim Traore. He is building his country, and this is what every African leader should do. But unfortunately, they are not doing it. But every African youth should support a man like that, and a move that is like the one he's making rather. So that was the advice from our sister, and I really applaud her for that. So every African person, please learn that and support this type of move. Thank you for listening.